Welcome to a semester of fortunate events. I'm your host, Jessica Bennett, and this podcast explores how our education, careers, and life experiences intersect in unexpected ways. My own journey has been filled with a number of really fortunate events, but many of those moments seemed like challenges at the time, and they ultimately led to growth and opportunities. Today, I am thrilled to share the airspace with Lily Jang, a name many of you will recognize from her years as a television anchor. I've watched you, Lily, countless times on the news, and I have to admit, I'm honestly still a little bit fangirling and starstruck.
Hello, Jessica.
Hey, Lily. And now Lily is a top producing real estate agent in Houston. She blends her communication expertise and strong community connections to make an incredible impact in an entirely new field. Lily, do you want to go over some of your background for our listeners? I know that you've been Emmy-nominated, which is just phenomenal. And now you're one of the top producing agents in Houston and have a massive following. So if you could introduce yourself and just tell us about your background, we're so excited to have you today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes.
I love it. And I haven't seen you in person in forever, so we have to remedy that next year.
Next year, 2025.
Yeah. We'll talk more about how busy you are, which is why we haven't connected in person. But a little bit about me. I always knew since ninth grade that I wanted to be a news reporter or a news anchor, something in the journalism field. I always felt like I had a calling to give a voice to the voiceless. I never saw anybody like me on TV. Yeah, I never saw anybody. And if I had to say one person who was an influential factor would be Connie Chung.
Okay.
And I remember watching the news one Saturday night and I was like, Mom, I want to be that person on the news in the middle of that breaking news scene, or just telling a story and just giving a voice to the voiceless. And I did. I was a news anchor around the country for 23 years.
Wow.
And so it was Amarillo, Birmingham, Alabama, Seattle for 12 years, and then finally back home to Houston. And I was here for 5 years, and I loved it. But there was a time in 2017 when push came to shove, and I had to figure it out. I was let go.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can talk more about that, or it was just the most devastating time of my life, but it was the best.
Yeah, well, I think, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to any of my podcasts so far, but the listeners or the guests that I've had all have something that they've had to face just like that, a layoff or, some kind of life change where it really put them in a new direction. But that's what the whole point of the podcast is to showcase how, something can be crazy or an obstacle and then turn into a whole new path and a fortunate outcome. So it sounds like this could be your fortunate event or defining moment when you switched from TV broadcast to real estate. Is that right?
Yeah, it was. I look back at the last 7 years, and it's such a whirlwind. Because when you're a TV news anchor, you just want to go home. And I finally made it home in 2012, back to Houston. And I came back here, left my job in Seattle. I loved Seattle. I loved my job. I loved my community and my friends. And it was where I really grew up as an adult. But I came back here because my dad was sick. And I knew it was time for me to take care of my dad. And so 2017 came around. New management took over KHOU. And I was a casualty, so I had been let go.
Yep.
Yeah, and my dad's here. I can't take another anchor job in Miami, New York, Chicago, LA. Couldn't go.
Right.
I was stuck here with a non-compete, and I had to figure it out. And that crossroads in my life was so scary. It was so devastating. And it was like I knew this is the beginning of the end of everything I thought my life would be. I mean, 23 years in TV news as a journalist, and I knew it was about to end, and I did not know what was next.
Did you look for other roles in Houston, or did you decide, now is the time for me to kind of step back and look at what else I want to do?
Yeah, I had to do the latter. I had to say, what else can I do that's going to be something I love and I'm passionate about because I can't go to the other TV stations right away as a news anchor. I have a non-compete.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, I have no option to fail.
Yep.
I take care of my parents financially. I've got a mortgage. I've got a car note. I've got 2 homes. I had to figure it out. And in those moments of your darkest times in your life, you know, you figure out who you are, your grit, your resilience, your hustle. And I look back at that time in adversity. Thank God for that adversity. Thank God for letting me go. That was my best teacher.
Oh, I feel like I'm about to cry. I need to, I need to not do that. But I don't think I realized that that was the main reason why you switched from TV to real estate. But, you know, it's incredible that it's brought you here to where now we're having this conversation, because I'll go into my background in a second, but I'm pretty sure that I probably reached out to you and pitched you for a story at some point in my background. So I'll go ahead and just hit on it now, and then we can get back to you in a second. But it is incredible just how, you know, when you face a challenge, you have to either decide, you know, I'm going to overcome this or not. And, you know, for me, I always take a challenge as a way to, you know, to expand myself. And I'm like a solution person, you know, solution oriented problem solver. I don't like to just sit and, you know, and accept that fate. So
right. You've done so much. You've transitioned so much, and you've conquered everything that you've done. So when I look at you, I'm like, how do you do it all? How do you do it all?
Well, you know, sometimes it's barely hanging on, but I do have such a wonderful support system. So I know I've mentioned this on every podcast, so the listeners have heard this a few times, but I'm going to go through it just real quickly again with my background, because you might not know it, Lily. But I was in the top 10% of my high school at Clear Creek High School in Leak City, and I was accepted early to A&M. And then, you know, I was super excited. I was going into actually a career in education. I thought I wanted to be a teacher since I was a little kid. And I do still think, you know, education plays a role in my life. You know, now I'm in my master's program, and I still have a heart for teaching, but just some things happened along the way where I had to also make a choice on what I wanted to do next. But from high school, you know, the summer after I graduated, I found out I was pregnant with my son, Branson. And my family did not want me to leave, to go off to College Station. They wanted me to stay behind so they could help support me, which makes sense. But it was very heartbreaking for me. And still, honestly, it's still like a sad circumstance in my story, because all of my family went to A&M, you know, my aunts, uncles, parents, brother, sister. It's just like a whole generational thing, you know, a legacy kind of thing. And so I wasn't able to do that, but I stayed here. I started at San Jack and then transferred into UHCL. And when I was transferring, that's when I switched to communication. And I'm so glad that I did. It's been, you know, I absolutely love my career. But I started off, my very first job was at a PR firm. And I'm pretty sure that's when I might have pitched you for a story, because we had clients in aerospace, energy. So we had some really big hitting clients like Blue Origin, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, and Virgin Galactic, which is owned by Richard Branson. So there were some really, you know, awesome things I got to work on. And I was doing, I organized press conferences and would do a lot of press release writing and involvement with the media. So I'm pretty sure I definitely think that there was some overlap between me and you back then, but it's hard to really, you know, go back and find it now.
Right. I'm sure there was.
So from that role, though, I eventually moved on to Perry Homes, and I worked at Perry Homes in their marketing department in various roles for almost 6 years. And then in 2023, I was recruited. I was looking for a new role, and I connected with some recruiters and was connected with J. Telosic Homes, which is where I met you. Officially. Yes. So at J. Telosic Homes, I'm the vice president of marketing, and I still serve in that role. But now they're my client, because I do work for a marketing agency now. So it's kind of just reversed. I'm not internal, I'm external now. So long story short, that's how we connected though. Nick.
Yeah, sweet Nick and Dina. Yeah.
Yes. So he actually connected us. I think I was talking to him about, needing to connect with really strong agents in the Memorial area, and he, connected us, which I'm so grateful for. So shout out to Nick. Thank you for doing that. Get him on a podcast next. So we'll see if we can get it in his schedule. But that's my story. I am doing a lot. I'm in the digital media master's program. I do work full time. I, have a son who he is 18, so he's just about done, at the house. He graduates in February, and then we'll be doing his next thing. So I'm at the tail end of kind of like my immediate motherhood responsibilities. So it's weird because I am about to start a brand new phase of life, and it's weird because I have no idea what that looks like.
Yeah, it's like a phase where you're reinventing who you are,
yes.
Having done with the kids, and still very young, to have this career that you can blossom into anything you want it to be.
Yes. Well, that's perfect for our next topic. Our next topic is reinvention and growth, and you've successfully navigated a really big career change. What do you think are the most important skills and mindsets or habits for those looking to reinvent themselves? Or just things, like waking up at a certain time or doing certain things during your day, or things that really help you while you're going through a big transition in your life. I don't know if you have any things that you've done that.
Yeah. I think that there are two things that I always say when I'm mentoring other agents, whether it's agents or it was journalism students. And I always say, whatever you do, do it with authenticity and integrity. Okay. Do what you say you're going to do, because at the end of the day, your word is everything you have. That's not just your reputation, that's your character. So integrity and authenticity is how I operate my business.
I love it.
And I feel like it's been the same constant, it's the same thing, whether you're in journalism or digital media or real estate. Operating with those characteristics you have to for success.
I agree with that. You could have a really great idea or be really well known and, have some kind of traction behind you. But if you don't stick to it, stick to your word and operate with the best intentions, it's really going to come back to you and not the way that you want. So,
yeah, I've had deals and usually 99.9%, everything is on paper. Everything has to be in writing.
Yes.
But I have said, you have my word on this. And I always carry through. Well, and that's the way it should be.
It is, yes. And I know it's not always the case, and especially in real estate, I know that things can be so fast, like if you have a situation where there's multiple parties involved, it's just not always a quick, easy thing. So, taking the time and the effort and following through, I think has helped you stand out. You going the extra mile, doing the extra work that other people aren't going to be doing. So if you want to talk for a second about that, about your real estate career and the kind of things that set you apart, because I know a few offhand, but if you could tell us, the things that have set you apart to be successful, I would love to hear it from you as well.
I really believe in personal relationships. I've never, I have not made a cold call, knocking on doors. You realize after a few years what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, and those are my weaknesses.
Okay.
But I'm really good at cultivating. I'm good at just cultivating the relationships that I do have, and 100% of my business is all referral based. And I'm very lucky to be able to say that. I know that, but it's just again going to that component of being authentic, right? Your true authentic self, and I have so much gratitude. And how do you tell people, show people that you have all of this gratefulness to them, so you cultivate those relationships, whether it's, I know that it's your birthday, your dog's birthday, I'm going to send your dog some treats. It's sweet. Those little things that you really, truly care about them. And you show them that you are very just thankful. And I really like to keep that up.
I love that. Speaking of birthdays, I think you have one coming up soon, don't you?
I do. I do.
Happy early
December,
birthday.
baby.
Happy
Thank
early
you.
birthday to you. And again, thank you for making the time to come on this podcast, because I know your schedule is so hectic. I think you were even working on closing a deal this morning. Is that right?
Yeah. I just closed a deal up in Bridgeland this morning. It's a busy month. I've got 9 closings, and
Wow.
I am so lucky because in my previous career, you have to be at work at your desk,
Yes.
right? You have to be there on the anchor desk to be able to do your job. And now I have so much flexibility that my office can be in Iceland. It could be in France. It could be in Vietnam. It could be wherever
That's
it
so
is.
fun.
And I know. I feel very lucky. I knock on wood because I love the fact that my second career has been so incredibly fulfilling, as much or more than my first.
Wow. I don't know if you hear that a lot, that you're reinventing yourself and it's even better than before. I just think that's incredible.
Yeah.
And speaks to your
I just remember
skills.
thinking, like, back in 2017, I was like, you know what? I am not a victim, and I'm not going to fail. So my comeback is going to be greater than the setback.
That's beautiful. That's going to be the title of this podcast. There we go. So in 2017, actually 2016, those were some hard years for me as well. I was going through a separation and then a divorce, and things were just really crazy. But 2016 is whenever I found a role at Perry Homes, and that, I have so much gratitude for Perry Homes. I don't know if you work with them ever, but I believe in their product. I am still connected to many colleagues that are working there still, and then people who've left as well. But my current boss, Carrie Infante with Infante Marketing Solutions, where I serve as the VP of marketing for the agency, she was the head of marketing for Perry Homes for about 15 years, I think. And so that's how, I met her through Perry, and we worked together closely, and then she left to be home more with her family. And, she started her own agency so she could have a little bit more flexibility in her schedule and things like that. But it's just been such a beautiful partnership, and I do owe it to Perry Homes. So shout out to Perry for that.
And this morning's closing was with Perry Homes,
Was it
ironically.
really? So I was going to say,
up in Bridgeland.
Bridgeland, that was actually part of the field, the area of Houston that I covered. Perry splits their divisions into different parts of Houston because Houston's so big. And that was one of the areas that I covered was Bridgeland. So I partnered with, I would do events out there, host community events, realtor events, put together signage, billboards, all sorts of things, flyers. So that was my role, was the field marketing side. That's so fun.
But you know what? I applaud you because in 2016, 2017, when you were doing this, you had a teenager. You were a single mother doing all of the things. And I don't have kids, so I have the time. So I applaud you for being able to juggle all of that. Well, you're my inspiration. Hard.
Thank you. It is hard. And, I haven't always done it gracefully. There's been, there's definitely been some darker times in my life, but my family, like I mentioned earlier, they really are my biggest support system. I have a twin sister who I don't think you've met, but we've got to connect y'all at some point because you would love her too. My twin sister is my best friend, and she is just so encouraging and motivating and always there for me, if I want to vent or if I need advice. She's just so bright. And I know that sounds silly because we're twins, but we're so different too that I feel like I can hype her up just because we have our own skills and our own gifts,
Yeah, I've seen your pictures and I was like, oh, you guys look so similar, but I didn't realize she was a twin.
Yes, we are twins. We don't look as much alike anymore. We looked just alike growing up, probably until middle school. Then we started changing our hair and makeup styles and, body changes a little bit too.
Yeah.
But yes, she's my best friend and my womb mate. So
your womb mate.
Best friends forever. Just a couple more questions before we wrap up. What do you think some of the biggest skills or lessons you learned during your time on TV that have stayed with you throughout your career? I know that, TV is such a specific setting for learning skills and the way that they do things. But are there things that you find yourself doing now in real estate transactions or in your interactions with your clients that you picked up from the TV era of your life?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that we all have skill sets that we can parlay into a new career that we don't even know we have. And that's such an asset, like time management, the deadlines that I have, the daily minute deadlines, the communication skills, the interpersonal skills, time blocking, all of those things that made me successful in that realm of my life, I carried over. And I'm able to tell my clients, because, it's daunting when you're buying a house and you've never bought one before. You have no idea what to expect. I will let you know the next 5 steps before you even have to think about it or open your mouth to ask me that question. I will hold your hand through all of it. I will detail everything. I over-communicate, tell you more than you need to know, and then you can filter out what you need. But when it comes to buying a house, nobody does that every year, every day. So you don't even know what questions to ask. But I'm going to be the one that comes in and says, if you probably didn't think about this yet, but here are the next 5, 10 steps. I'm going to lay it out for you. So anything you need to know, I'm here. And they're like, okay, well, because you did that, I didn't have any questions. It answered all my questions.
Wow, that's just incredible. And that's so true, though. Time management and deadlines, I think are a great skill and a great thing to learn in kind of any asset or any field that you might be in. From school, like right now with my graduate classes, to my deadlines with work, and then your deadlines with your work, I think it's smart. It's something that's helped me to be like deadline driven, deadline focused, no matter what I'm working on. So that's a great point.
Yeah. The time management part, I think, is really interesting because I still deal with other realtors who are late. Yes. I don't know. I come from a world where if you're on time, you're late. And so I'm always early. I had a 9:30 this morning that I showed up at 9:04 because you never know what traffic's going to do.
That's so
and
true.
So I don't like you don't keep your clients waiting. Their time is valuable and you're at their beck and call. It's not the other way around.
I'll be honest, that's something that I've had to work on as an adult as well. I grew up, my family, we kind of known for being slow to things or, late to things. And that's something that my brother, sister, and I have all had to work on in our adult lives. And so I do, try to make it a big priority to get somewhere early now in advance because you just, like you said, you never know with traffic or tech delays or anything that could come up. You just want to have room to not be rushed because that just makes it more stressful. So that's something that
absolutely.
I have worked on, and it's a great thing to mention because in the professional world, time is money, and you're showing your respect to other people's time as well whenever you're on time or early, like you mentioned. A question on storytelling. So storytelling is a key tactic in journalism, marketing, and I think even real estate. Do you use storytelling to connect with your clients when you're showcasing properties, or how would you say that you use storytelling in your field now?
So it's funny, we talked about Nick. So 7 years ago when I started in real estate, he reached out to me. He said, "Hey, I watched you on TV. My dad worked with you." And we connected. We shot a video of me walking and talking, and it was me telling a story about the home that I was in that I was trying to sell. And that was my approach to marketing when I first got into journalism. Got into real estate. And I took that whole component of HGTV-like packages, and I sold it to Channel 2. So I went over to NBC, and I had my whole segment on there that was all walk and talk. Here's today's open houses, and I would be in open houses around all the greater Houston area. And then that turned into a whole TV show that I had in 2022, a 30-minute real estate show on NBC.
That's so cool.
So yeah, my two careers merged, and I loved it. So I was able to use my storytelling for real estate.
Do you think you'll ever do that again? Do another show or, walk through kind of tour of homes for TV? Or do you think,
for TV?
Yeah. How do you see that playing out in the future? Or is it kind of up in the air?
I would entertain any opportunity. I think I would say yes to it.
Okay.
It's just a lot of work, and then I have a full-time job.
Yeah.
So
True.
I should ask you how you manage to just have all these balls up in the air.
Well, I live by my calendar. People, it's funny because people don't really believe that, but I do. My calendar is packed with my to-do lists, my appointments. If I didn't have my calendar, I would be completely lost. So that's what's helped me to stay organized. That's actually something that I picked up when I was working at the PR firm, my first job out of college. I don't know which teammate or colleague made that recommendation, but I started, blocking off every hour on my calendar with what I'm working on, or even like drive time, or even, a break. Sometimes I'll schedule in a break because I know I'll need it. So that's how I operate. And then if I don't get to something, which usually happens, I'll move it to the next day, but I'll put my biggest priorities in the bulk of, my work day. So that's helped me. It's still not, the final solution. I mean, I am looking for less. Like, I'm looking for more balance in my life. When my son graduates in February, I really, I'm excited and sad because I know that he'll be, going off and doing his own thing. But I'll also have some time back to me. So it's like a very bittersweet situation. I'm really excited to start cycling again. I know that we'll need to connect and do cycling because I know we've been to the same location before. I love indoor cycling, and I just haven't had as much time or haven't booked it on my schedule. So that's something that I really want to start doing more, is focusing on me, cycling. And I'm going to make some time with it. Yes, I honestly love it. I went to the cycle studio in Leak City for a while and gotten really, you could tell a difference in my physique. So I'm excited to get back into that. So in February, maybe even January, we can start scheduling some ride sessions together.
Yes, let's go. Yes. We'll bring Nick.
I think we'll have to drag him in there, but we'll do it. One final question, just maybe about your public persona. As someone who was and still is, I think, a familiar face in Houston, how does your persona impact real estate? Do you find it plays, like a positive role, or has there been some negative interactions because of your public persona? Could you just speak to that, just out of my own curiosity?
I think I've been very blessed. Nothing has been negative. Okay. And people will say, like, I used to watch you on TV and I've seen this new career of yours and you're doing really well. I would love to talk to you about buying a house or selling my house. Okay. And there's just an element of people already feeling like they know you and trust you. Mm-hmm. So that's been a blessing.
Good.
And when somebody comes and they don't know if they have never seen the news before, they can always just Google me and they know my history and they knew who I am, and they just look at my social media and it's really like I am exactly who I am on social media.
Mm-hmm. Well, good. So I feel like that's, a great connection, that your, personality online should really match your, persona in public. So it's that whole personal branding element, staying true to who you are both online and offline, because it's not always the case.
It's usually not always the case. Yeah.
Yes. Well, we already talked about your fortunate event, I think. Usually I would ask a guest to share a defining moment, but I think we got into that at the very beginning of moving from TV to real estate. So I think that will wrap us up, Lily. Thank you again. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you. For anyone who wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do that? Is it social media? Is it email, website? Where would you like them to visit?
I'm easily found on Instagram. Facebook, I really don't use as much. Okay. So you can always email me, lily@lilyjangrealestate.com. Okay. And I'm always around.
Perfect. Well, I'll link that as well. Thank you again. And everyone listening, be sure to tune in to our next episode. I'm going to try to get Nick on the podcast and sit down with him, go over his background and his work. So from there, just listen in, and you'll probably have some fun stories from him. So thank you again, Lily. It's been so great.
Thank you, Jessica.
Have to connect after this offline. So.
Yes, we will. Talk soon.
Okay,
Thanks,
you
everybody.
Have a great day. Thank you. Bye.
You too. Bye.